In this session, we are going to discuss the assignment for the lesson Indigo by Louis Fisher. Here is the assignment. You have to answer this assignment after reading the lesson Indigo from NCERT textbook Flamingo and going through the video sessions provided to you for this lesson. The first question is, how did Rajkumar Shukla establish that he was resolute? After you read the lesson, you will come to know that Rajkumar Shukla, who was a poor sharecropper from Champaran, didn't know who Gandhiji was. Still, when he was told by somebody that Gandhiji could provide solutions to the problems of the sharecroppers, he followed him. He visited Lucknow. On knowing that Gandhiji was preoccupied, he followed him everywhere. He never left Gandhiji's sight till Gandhiji relented. So you have to name the places he visited to convince Gandhiji to visit Champaran. The next question is, how did Gandhiji help peasants of Champaran? To answer this question, you need to write what the problems of the peasants of Champaran were, how Gandhiji made those problems as his own problems, though not from Champaran, and how he forced the authorities to provide peasants their due. He got their refund and he also ensured that peasants who were crushed and had no rights got their rights back and were free from fear. The next question is, how did Gandhiji influence the lawyers of Champaran? Again, something that is very important is Gandhiji was not from Champaran, and the lawyers who provided solutions to the peasants, poor peasants, they charged. When Gandhiji got to know about it, he scolded them and he ensured that they realized that they were wrong and helped the peasants selflessly. The next question number 4 is, why did Gandhiji demand 50% refund from the British landlords? And why did he accept 25% compensation later? So here you need to write about that how the poor peasants who were forced to grow indigo were made to get out of their agreement after paying the compensation when the synthetic indigo was produced, and how landlords illegally obtained money from poor sharecroppers. So when Gandhiji came to Champaran, he went through all the details and he wanted 50% refund from the British landlords. But to break the deadlock, to ensure that the peasants got their rights and came out of their fear, he agreed to 25% offer by the representatives. And then finally, he ensured that the planters surrendered their rights to sharecroppers and returned their 25% refund as well. The next question is, why did Gandhiji feel that taking the Champaran case to the court was useless? In this, you need to describe that how Gandhiji realized that the actual problem was the fear of the peasants, and how Gandhiji understood that it was very important to bring them out of their fear and let them not feel being crushed. And he could very well see that courts could hardly do any good in this. The next question is, who was Charles Andrew and why was Gandhiji opposed to seek Andrew's help in Champaran case? You need to describe how Andrew, an English pacifist and a devoted follower of Gandhiji, when he came to bid farewell to Gandhiji, Gandhiji did not seek his help as the lawyers wanted, because Gandhiji felt that it would reveal Indians' weakness and he didn't want to use an Englishman against the fight with British authorities. He didn't want him to be used as a prop. He wanted Indians to be self-reliant. Question 7 is, how was the Champaran incident a turning point in Gandhiji's life? You need to talk about Gandhiji's arrival to fight against the injustice of the landlord system. You need to describe how large estates in Champaran were owned by Englishmen and how Indian tenants were hired to grow indigo. And sharecroppers had to surrender 15% of indigo harvest as rent. Then you need to talk about how when synthetic indigo production started, Englishmen obtained fresh agreement and they wanted the sharecroppers to pay compensation. Some signed, some peasants wanted their money back. At this point, Gandhiji arrived and he collected the facts. He held a meeting with the commissioner where he was bullied and asked to leave. Gandhiji peacefully accepted the order but refused to leave. He told that being an Indian, he couldn't be ordered about in his own country by Britishers. This established the effectiveness of non cooperation as means of fighting for justice. And then you need to describe that how Champaran episode highlighted Gandhiji's principle in political field and continued being in Champaran not just for this political fight but also for their cultural and social upliftment. The next question is, how did Gandhiji use satyagraha, non-violent civil disobedience at Champaran to achieve peasants' right? You have to describe Gandhiji's arrival to Champaran to alleviate the problems of the peasants, how he met the secretary of the Landlords Association and the commissioner, and again when he was ordered to leave, though he signed the order, but he wrote a note that he would not leave the place. And then there were demonstrations, thousands of peasants wanted to support this Mahatma who had come to fight for them. Lawyers resolved to follow Gandhiji to jail. This made the officials fear the power of Gandhiji, and as a result, the case against Gandhiji was dropped. This was the first victory of civil disobedience. And then the first official inquiry into indigo sharecropper situation was also started. Landlords agreed to refund peasants, surrendered a part of the money with a part of their prestige. And this way, Gandhiji was successful in removing the fear of poor peasants through satyagraha and non-violent civil disobedience. The next question is, how do we know that ordinary people too contributed to the freedom movement? When you start reading the story, you will come to know that it was Mr. Professor J.B. Kripalani of Arts College in Muzaffarpur who had come to the station at midnight with a large body of students on April 15, 1917 to receive Gandhiji. Besides, countless villagers too contributed for the freedom struggle. They collected in thousands, lent their support, gathered outside the courtroom, expressed solidarity to Gandhiji's goal. So, in this way, they were all united and showed resilience to make Britishers fear Indian power. On this slide, you have the extracts and the questions based on those extracts. You must be aware of one thing, that to answer extracts, you must have an idea of the whole lesson. You may not find the answers in the given extract. So it's called global comprehension. The extract is, Gandhiji's lawyer friends thought it would be a good idea for Andrew to stay in Champaran and help them. Now, the question is, who was Andrew? It's given in the lesson, so you need to write that. The second question is, why did Gandhiji's lawyer friends want Andrew to help them? What was the reason that lawyers helping Gandhiji felt that Andrew could be a great help to them? Now, what was the condition put by Andrew to help the lawyers? That's the next question. The last question is, how did Gandhiji react to this idea when Gandhiji got to know about lawyers seeking Andrew's help, how did he react? The second extract is Gandhiji explained that the amount of refund was less important. Now, what is the amount being referred to in the above line? What is this amount? What was it for? The second question is, how much amount was finally refunded? How much was asked and how much was finally refunded? Both have different figures. So that needs to be answered. You must understand the question, how much was finally refunded? The next question is, why was the amount of refund less important? Whatever amount was refunded, why was it less important? The next is, what did peasants gain in this settlement? How were peasants benefited? Was it monetary or in some other form?